Hello, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to join this very short informational video on wellness and workspace during the pandemic. We're currently in the middle of COVID-19. Most of us are working from home at this point, or at least working from home part-time. And I know this video is coming a little bit late, but it should be helpful with regards to adjusting things around your routine. So let's get started. My name is Makinie Soverall. I'm one of two behavioral health counselors at Renton Technical College within Student Success in the I building. My counterpart is Hoaglin, and you see her in the picture here. She's awesome. We offer free and confidential short-term counseling, so that's 8 to 12 sessions for current students. We also provide referral services if you're looking for a counselor outside of our Renton Technical College. Our website is rtc.edu/behavioral health, and we also offer webinars and workshops. So COVID-19 has changed a lot about the workplace. For one, we're working from home mostly. It's changed how we work and how we communicate. And I don't know about you, but for me, I had to learn a bunch of different systems. So on top of the systems and tools that I was already using, I'm also using now Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and Doxy. There's also a lot of text messaging that goes on too. So it's just changed a lot about the way that we work now. And so what I'd like to talk to you about today is how you can organize your schedule to make sure that you still have energy to work and motivation to keep going during this time. So just kind of thinking of things that you can do. For example, is to just take a look at your schedule and see if there are ways that you can kind of improve it for wellness. And I have a few ideas in the next slide. So when I found out that we were going to be shifting to working from home full time, the first thing I did was I took my calendar, I erased all of my appointments and left when I wake up, when I grab breakfast, my start time, my end time, and then things that I can do in between for wellness. So what I started doing was taking 15-minute breaks, 2 15-minute breaks in order to take walks. And I also had some time to make sure that I was keeping up with communications going on midday as well. And you want to make sure that when you kind of take information from your previous schedule that was working for you and shift it over to your current schedule, that it is things that are centered around taking care of yourself throughout the day. There's a misconception that self-care is reserved for special days, like weekends or holidays, but actually self-care is something that you should be weaving into your schedule daily. There are also other opportunities you can put into your schedule, including online learning opportunities. And I have 2 examples right here on the slide, the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges, and then the Employee Assistance Program. And those are just 2 of many examples. Some other considerations to set yourself up for success is to make sure that you're talking to the people within your space. So you might be living with a significant other or family or friends, and you just kind of want to talk to them about like laying out what your schedule is so that they understand you're trying to minimize interruptions. Some of that could include letting them know, here's when I start, here's when I'm going on break, this is a good time for us to hang out and catch up with each other, just so they're aware. Here are some examples of different workspaces. Just something to throw out there, some ideas for you to consider and kind of compare to your own workspace. One thing to consider too is that we're all kind of making do with what we have, right? We didn't really have time to clear out an entire room. There are people working out of closets, there are people working out of their kitchens. I know for me personally, I do have my office here, but also you see on the left side of the images, I also work in my living room just because it has a lot more light. So you make do with what you have, and then you try and make that work for your body as well, so you're not getting into a lot of pain. This slide is just a reminder about posture. Some things to consider about posture is that wherever you're sitting, please make sure that your feet are able to touch the ground firmly. There are definitely some seats, I'm a pretty short person, so there's some seats that I've had that are too high and they're kicking my feet. That's really not good for your body or your back specifically. Make sure that your arm is, that's so funny, in the middle of this my phone rang, which is just like, it is a perfect example of working around distractions. So I'm actually really glad that that happened. This is just something that we have to work around during this time. Okay, so to continue, you want to make sure that if you do have an armrest, it's as close to your desk as possible. You don't want to be reaching out like this to use your mouse, and you also don't want to be reaching out like this. So if anything, just make sure that it's kind of aligned, that your range of motion is going straight towards your computer and you're not reaching out more than, you know, arm's length. And speaking of arm's length, you also want to make sure that your monitor is about arm's length away. It's good for your vision. You don't want it too far away from you. And one more tip is to make sure that you are looking away from your computer at least once every 20 minutes. So if you have to sit in front of your computer for a few hours, this is really something that you want to maybe set a timer on your phone for, where you're looking at the computer and then you look to the left 20 seconds, you look to the right for 20 seconds, and then you can go back to looking at your computer. But really, it would be best if at least you're adhering to 2 15-minute breaks. This is by Washington State Employee Standard. So if anybody else is watching you don't have to adhere to that, but it's really good to be able to take that time to get away from the computer. And make sure that you're communicating with your team, with the people that you're serving. For faculty and staff, you know, you're letting each other and students know how to communicate with you, links to different meeting spaces when you're taking breaks. That way things could kind of continue fairly normally as far as communication goes. And as earlier I received a phone call in the middle of this webinar, expect the unexpected. Things are going to happen. As you see here, my cat Leo decided that my arm was just going to be an armrest in the middle of work. And I mean, of course, I removed her after a few minutes to get back to what I was doing. But these things do happen. You're home with your loved ones or friends or family or pets, and there will just be interruptions. One thing that I do want to take a little time to speak about is making that separation between work and home. So you saw a few slides ago, I had my start time and my end time. I really try to adhere to that. At the end of the day, my phone is turned off, my laptop, my work laptop is turned off, and I'm making the transition from working at home to being at home, living there. So a few tips for doing that. One of the recommendations during a recent all staff, somebody said that they changed their clothes. So you dress like you're leaving the house to go to work during your work hours, and then when your work hours ends, you change into your home clothes. You're nice and comfortable. It actually does help make that transition in your mind from one state of working to a state of rest. Another thing you could do is make sure to set up your workstation so there are a few cues that remind you, yes, you're here at work. So I have a couple of books that I refer to fairly regularly, so I'll take those out and put those on the desk. I'll have my notepads that I'll have on the desk as well. And at the end of the day, those go into the closet. I don't look at them until the next work day. And the same goes for transitioning to starting your day as well. That can go from, you know, changing into your work clothes to just putting on the mindset, okay, I'm starting at the same time regularly. The mind really appreciates routine. So if there's a way to adhere to that, it would be really good, really helpful to transition from work state to rest state. All right, let's transition to physical, mental, and emotional fitness. As you see here, I had a pretty sloppy picture of me working out while watching TV a couple weekends ago. But it is really important to maintain some kind of physical activity is really good for your mood, mood regulation. So weightlifting has actually been connected to brain health. On top of just being good for physical and mental well-being, it actually does boost brain activity. It's really good for the immune system too. So that is one other consideration. Oh, another thing to really consider too is stretching. So you can stretch between breaks, or you can do an activity like yoga if you're not into weightlifting or walking or running. I'm not going to spend too much time on this piece. I'm not a nutritionist, and I don't want to give you advice. I would say definitely talk to your doctor if you're concerned about your diet. I just want to demonstrate in this picture that there are foods that we could be eating that's also good for the brain and good for the body. I know it's really difficult when your office is right next to your fridge in the kitchen, but there are a few snacks that are really good for you throughout the day that can keep you full and reduce snacking. Some examples are peanut butter, eggs, almonds, coconut milk. Anything protein or fiber rich is going to keep you fuller for longer periods of time and reduce the impulse to eat. This is just a piece for consideration. At this point, you could pause the video and write down some things that make you feel joy, that keep you motivated. It's really important to hold on to these things during this time. We're going to move into sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene shouldn't really be that different during a pandemic, but it is, because we have a lot of things on our mind. We're thinking about, you know, are we going to stay healthy? When are we going back to work? Am I going to get a paycheck in the next month? These are real considerations that people are going through at this time, and it is totally understandable. So I decided to go ahead and throw this information in here, hoping that it will help even a little bit. So some considerations would be to avoid drinking caffeine. You can pick the time. One of the recommended times is anywhere between 3 and 5 o'clock. You really don't want to drink caffeine after then. Caffeine can stay in your system for a few hours. So if you're having trouble going to sleep, look back at your schedule and see if caffeine may be a factor. You don't really want to eat too many heavy meals before bed. That fullness, the digestion, it can just cause a lot of discomfort, and it can keep you awake a little bit longer. You'd unfortunately want to put this down anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour before bed. I know that's really difficult, especially if your ebook is on here. I know it's difficult for me, and it might be difficult for you as well, but it's really good, and you can substitute it with other activities. So puzzles, shower, journaling. There's a ton of things that you could do that don't involve your phone that will help your body and your mind kind of say, okay, now's the time to unwind and relax. And that goes right into the final recommendation on this slide, which is to find some activities that put you into a space that makes you feel tired. And finally, regardless of what we do or how much we do, there is a point where too much is just too much. And so you can take this time and pause and write it down. But think of a few signs that your body and your brain gives you to let you know that you've just reached a threshold. I know for me, when the pandemic first hit, I think I made it from March to maybe late April or so before I realized I needed to take a day off. So I took a day off, and it was absolutely wonderful. Got a lot of sleep. I would highly recommend that you recognize your threshold, so you're not trying to work through burnout. It's not really good for you. It can cause anxiety, it can cause feelings of depression. So recognize it, acknowledge it, especially during this time. It's okay to be tired. Take that time for yourself to recover and to get that energy back. If you notice that you're experiencing prolonged sleeplessness or mood changes, you can definitely reach out to us, and we can try and get you connected to someone if you feel like talking to someone about that. And if you're a student at Renton Technical College, I do want to remind you that the behavioral health team is here for you. Sarah and I are still accepting referrals. We are still providing online counseling at this time. And we really hope that if you need us, you reach out to us. We are here for you. And here's a list of different resources that Renton Technical College offers. All right, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day again to join me for this very short webinar on maintaining emotional and physical well-being through the pandemic COVID-19. I wish you well. I hope you and your family are safe and healthy, and I'll see you next time. Take care.